Good morning and welcome once again to the 94th of our 365 Bible studies. We are continuing with the early monarchy, the period between Saul and Solomon, and today we come to that particularly well-known episode where young David defeats and kills Goliath, the Philistine champion. I'm reading to you today from the first book of Samuel, chapter 17, verses 41 to 54. 1 Samuel 17, 41 to 54. And I'll turn you around so you can see the text. The Philistine Goliath started to walk towards David, with his shield-bearer going before him. Closer and closer he came, and he had a good look at David. David was just a nice and good-looking lad. And he looked down on him. "Why are you holding a stick?" he said. "Am I a dog?" And he called on his gods to curse David. And he challenged him, "Come on, let's feed the birds and beasts with you." David answered, "You come against me with sword, spear, and javelin. I come against you in the name of all-powerful Yahweh, the God of Israel's armies, whom you have defied. Today Yahweh is putting you into my power. I'm going to defeat you and behead you. It's the bodies of the Philistine soldiers that the birds and beasts will eat. Then all the world will know that Israel has a God, and everyone present will understand that Yahweh doesn't need swords or spears to save his own. He wins battles, and he will put you all in our power." The story of David and Goliath also has an introductory feel to it. And it may well have been the first story in yet another cycle of tales, all about David as a fighter. A battle was about to take place, the armies had assembled, and the great Philistine champion Goliath of Gath, between 2 and 3 meters tall, challenged any Israelite who dared to single combat between the lines. David's elder brothers were amongst the enlisted fighters with Saul's troops, and David had been sent to them on the battlefield by their father with provisions. He was there in time to hear Goliath's challenge, and he also heard the extravagant promises from Saul of a royal marriage and a tax-free income for life for the noble volunteer. After some questions, David approached Saul and said he was prepared to do it. But he was at first turned down by the king because of his youth. He then told of his experience against bears and lions as a shepherd to convince the king, who promptly set about ludicrously loading him with heavy armor and weapons, which David wisely refused. Instead, carrying just his shepherd's staff and a small bag, he went to a nearby wadi and picked up 5 pebbles, which he stored with his sling in the bag. The next scene is what we have read today. It describes the meeting between the 2 champions. What happened next is well known. David used the sling and just one of the pebbles and stored a direct hit in the middle of the giant's forehead, fracturing his skull. Goliath fell to the ground unconscious, and David was able to behead him with the giant's own sword. This was followed by a rout of the Philistine troops, and David was introduced to the king as if they had never met before. David became popular because of his victory, and Saul became jealous. He fobbed David off with a less senior princess than the one he had been promised, And then Saul set about trying to kill David because of his insane jealousy. David's wife, Michal, loved him, however, and warned him of the plot, so he could escape to Samuel. Saul's son Jonathan was also very pro-David, and subsequently on several occasions helped David to escape from Saul's attempts to kill him. All this you can read in the first book of Samuel, chapters 18 to 31. The ancient editors wanted us to know that young David was favoured by God and Saul was no longer protected. So, more about David and Jonathan and their special relationship tomorrow. See you then.